Hey everyone, welcome to PunkCast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk8051. Cryptopunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of PunkCast. Today we've got Punk8051. He's a 3 Atty with messy hair, clown green eyes, and handlebar mustache. He's a seasoned tech entrepreneur and the founder of PunksClub and Ape Club, which is a gated directory for punks and apes, and also Punk's Den, a Web3 Shark Tank. Please welcome to the show the talented Mr. VoyTech.eth. Voy, how are you, mate? Welcome.
I'm good. Hi, everyone. Hi, Maxwell. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. I wish I had Punk's Club earlier. I think it was only up until this year that I was able to connect with punks locally here in Hong Kong. But it would be nice to have it a little bit earlier. So looking forward to digging in on Punk's Club with you and the inspiration for it a little bit later. And where are you sort of based at the moment, Boy?
I'm based in Warsaw, Poland, and have pretty much always been, with a short break. I spent almost 2 years in the US back in the day, but that's an old story.
Nice. And well, maybe we can just start off light, and if you can just give a brief introduction to, I guess, yourself and your background, and how you found your way into Web3.
Okay, so I was basically when I was 13, I decided to learn programming in order to write computer games. That was my dream, and it still is. Basically, haven't written a decent game yet because I got sucked into Web3. Sorry, the web back then. That was the 90s, so the web was pretty much starting up, and there was a lot of opportunity there and a lot of suction for developers. So I had to abandon my game development dreams and started working on web projects. And since always, those were basically my own projects. I think the last time I had a job was when I was 18. And since then, I've only been building startups, sold some of them.
What kind of startups were you building back then?
So the first one was the social network. That was in 2004. We launched, it was local to Poland, and the premise was to check that every 2 people on Earth can be connected by 6 handshakes. Well, at least that was the theory. So we started up a social network with a bunch of friends being the first users. I think I was user number 1, and I invited my friends, and then they started inviting their friends. And there was no way to sign up publicly. You had to have an invite. So we basically knew the connections between users. And it was very cool. It grew beyond 2 million users, all local to Poland, just because it was a local business and we didn't really scale outside of the country. And the cool part of it was that it was centered around communities. So kind of like a collection of discussion forums, and people could join the given sub-forum and discuss a specific subject. Like people had created forums around schools, around interests, around sports, around interesting places in Warsaw, for example.
Like Reddit before Reddit, in some ways.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then when Facebook started taking over the global market, like my main regret was that we didn't capitalize on the community aspect, because we could have pivoted in that direction. And then Facebook started taking over the users and so on.
Mm.
But I think this community aspect was a key thing that we could have focused on. But it was my first company. I didn't have much help in Poland. Hardly anybody knew how to build and scale web companies and how to like put together a strategy for them. So it was like a big learning experience. I did manage to drive a 911 back then, due to this
Nice.
startup and selling a bunch of it. So happy about that. But
Not a
but I
Lambo
made
though.
money. No, no, not a level, just a 911. But happy about the learning experience, and from then I progressed to different other building different other products.
Nice. So you transitioned from a community social Web 2 company, and then what was the interest in Web 3, and how did you find your way down the rabbit hole into Web 3?
So around, I've been hearing about Bitcoin for a long time. I just didn't really get interested in that. But when I saw Ethereum in 2017, I immediately was interested in this distributed computer idea, where anybody could create an app that's always accessible, impossible to censor, and the platform itself provides ownership of assets to its users, right? Before Bitcoin and Ethereum, there was no way to actually own your money other than storing it in a safe or something like that. And these platforms are the first ones to allow people to actually own digital assets. So that hooked me onto the onto this whole Web3 bandwagon. Of course, in 2017, it was very early. Everything was in its early stages, and it was mostly subject to speculation, right? Uh, but today, it's becoming more and more mature, and I feel that in 2 or 3 years, it should be accessible to the average user. And that's why pretty much for the past 3 years, I've just been focusing and looking for ways to somehow start building products related to Web3, because I feel it's the future and I want to be a part of it.
And just out of curiosity, I guess what's the crypto scene like in Poland? Did you pick up crypto and get interested in crypto while in Poland, or was it more the US influence that sort of drove that?
It was the US influence and just my own research online and on Reddit. I think I found out about Ethereum when it was at $8, and bought a bunch. I wasn't really connected with the crypto scene in Poland, but I know that it's pretty big and thriving, and actually there's like tons of interest for it. Poland is in general a country which is very quick to adopt new technologies, like Wi-Fi, mobile phones. All of our banks have basically very cool apps and online services. You can do a bunch of government-related stuff online. So we're very quick to adopt new tech. And crypto is no exception. And of course, there is a bunch of stigma around crypto, just like anywhere, related to the regular pump and dumps and people coming in and then going away. But then you see, which ones stay and continue building.
And then so how did you find out about NFTs and transition from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then into NFTs? Like how did you get down that track?
So I found out due to the NFT craze last year, right? That was that huge pump and everything got very loud. I didn't really get into trading that much because I'm more of a person focused on building, and it that hasn't changed, but it definitely interested me, and uh, especially the community aspect around it, right?
Mm.
I think that's the biggest thing about NFTs, because one thing is when if they just represent art, which in many cases works, right? And many art NFTs are successful if the general consensus is that it's high art and everybody likes it, and that's for those collections. Just being an art collection could be enough to succeed if it's good. But for 99% of the others, it's mostly about community and what value the founders drive for the holders.
So in your view, like what's different about, I guess, the community aspect from Web 2 and Web 3 that you've seen?
So in Web 2, the communities formed mostly around interests, just like they do today, right? There can be a community around cycling, around a specific brand of cars, around sports. But the communities around a specific product or a specific company haven't been that popular just because, is there a Coca-Cola community? Maybe there is, right? But I don't think it's very popular. And the main thing that changed in Web3 is that community people who buy the given product, which in our case, it could be like an item in an NFT collection, immediately have interest in the collection succeeding, right? Because they have an asset that they know could appreciate if the given collection succeeds. So I think this is the main difference, because if you buy a bottle of Coca-Cola, you don't immediately become vested in Coca-Cola succeeding as a company. And even if you buy Coca-Cola shares, there's very little you can do to help it succeed and make any type of impact. And with NFTs, these are usually smaller ventures, at least initially, and the community is like the major aspect of it. And the community members have assets that are tied to the success of the given NFT collection or venture, right? So this is the main thing. Being a member of a community where it's in your interest for this community to succeed, and many people actually spend their time on helping the community, doing community activities to help the collection succeed, because in the end they have some financial interest in it.
Definitely, as you're sort of speaking, I can definitely sort of see that, right? I think Web 2, I think, say for example, Coca-Cola is very transactional with a customer, right? And there's no economic alignment of interest for the customer to, I guess, go out and be incentivized to promote the brand. Web 3 definitely has a long-term feeling to it, right? In terms of community. I mean, now you have a group of people that are economically aligned and incentivized to go out and market, almost like free marketing for the brand too, in some ways. So that is a huge difference. And I think one of the analogies I like to sort of pull on is almost like the concept of energy. When we first had energy, we had like steam trains back then, and when you burn some energy, you could you could burn it straight away, but it was hard to store it for later use. And that's when batteries came in, and you could store energy for later use. And I sort of feel like NFTs is like that for attention. Web 2 attention is very short lived. You have to hype it up, short times, very transactional. But I think with NFTs now, you can sort of harness that attention and store it for later use and for the long term. Because I think if you can accrue attention in the community and maintaining it for a long period of time, then there's different sort of ways to sort of monetize that. From your point of view, how would you sort of see monetization sort of happening in Web3? Like, what sort of interesting strategies are you sort of seeing evolving?
Yeah, so one thing is, if you're a founder of an NFT collection, then obviously royalties are an option, and those there's a bunch of debate about those going away in many cases and on many platforms. So we'll see where that gets us. I think that community members don't mind paying reasonable royalties to to founders as long as there are decent results of whatever they're working on. But the platforms are going to be competing down to zero probably. So we'll see how that works. But just jumping back on the community aspect, what you mentioned, that a strong community is very good for the project and makes it grow, and NFTs amplify this effect. I feel that this is very important, but it's not gonna be sufficient long term, because if the collection is not like a high art collection, which is broadly recognized as such, and there is a bunch of interest, and you kind of expect there to be more with time, and because of its provenance or art style, then in most cases, the driving force behind the project is the community itself. But longer term, I feel that that's not enough, and the founders have to work on something more, right? Something more to feed the community, giving them some extra value, because otherwise it's just going to falter with time. People get tired of pushing the project, or maybe the pool of people interested just grows to a specific size and stops growing beyond that. And that's when, first of all, these extra services for the community, or extra value that they would be getting, becomes important. And that, of course, has to be done in conjunction with monetization, because as a founder, if you run out of money to actually do anything, to build, to create value for the community, then your collection could go down, right? And the interesting aspect of Web3 is that in Web3, unlike in Web2, anybody can monetize any community. You don't have to be the founder to create a product for the community. That's exactly what we did with PunksClub. We're not Larva Labs, we're not Yuga. We're a completely external entity. And due to the fact that everybody owns their punk on their wallet, and it's not property of Yuga or Larva or whoever else, we can build a product for punk holders, and we can eventually monetize that product only because of this ownership, right? Anybody can jump into PunksClub, verify with their punk, and join the PunksClub community, which is not associated with Yuga right now. And the fun thing is that nobody can stop this process, right? Because people actually own those assets. And in many cases with NFTs, those communities are already there. So if you want to monetize community X, you know where to go, right? They have a Discord or Telegram chat, some space where those community members are present and can organize. And if you offer them something interesting, it's pretty easy to start onboarding them. Unlike, back in the day where you were like shooting for random people on the internet, paying for advertising and so on. And that was the case with PunksClub and Ape Club. They're already established CryptoPunk chats, CryptoPunk communities, and same with Apes. And all we had to do was provide a product that gives them value, and start reaching out to those people via the existing channels. So I think this is the most interesting thing in Web3, which we're leveraging, that this ownership of assets causes this interesting dynamic where anybody can launch a product for any community.
Maybe if you can just share with everybody, then what is PunksClub?
So with PunksClub, when we joined the Cryptopunks community, we noticed that there is very little tools for the community to collaborate and to meet each other. The only tools available were Telegram and Discord. And that's not ideal because obviously, if you mention something on Telegram or on Discord, you only the people who are online or who read the whole history of chat are gonna notice whatever you said. So it was difficult to organize events for punks. It was difficult to share your projects because that's, in many cases viewed as shilling. And so the community was not really very tight together due to the lack of tools. So what we decided to do was provide the most essential tools for the community around people meeting each other and people collaborating on projects, because we feel that that's the biggest value in any NFT community, right? The people in it, and somehow making new connections with those people and promoting your project, collaborating on it. And that's how the idea for PunksClub was born, and that's why we started it. And we actually don't have a chat functionality even today, because we felt that events, meeting people, the map of users was more important than trying to compete with Discord and Telegram. That's actually coming soon in the next stage of the platform, but we started with only the missing parts we saw in the community.
So let me ask you a question then. Of all communities that you saw, I think you've picked, I'm assuming Ape Club's the same as PunksClub, but just for Bored Apes, right?
Yeah.
So in your view, I mean, how long, and just a question, how long ago did you start PunksClub and Apes Club? How long has it been up and running now?
It's up and running. It's like, I think, 3 to 4 months for PunksClub, and Apes Club got started like 6, 7 weeks ago. Pretty early for both.
Pretty early, so about May or June, and then and so my question is I guess, why did you start with CryptoPunks of all communities in the NFT space then?
Because of their prominence, pretty much, and because I saw the shortcomings here. Maybe there are some communities which have like better tools to organize themselves. I don't know about that. I know Discord is a standard, and I know it's definitely not sufficient. So then we thought that let's start with one of the most prominent, if not the most prominent, collection in the space, because if it works here, then the eyes of other collections, other community members are going to be on us, right?
Makes sense.
So that's pretty much it. We thought that this is the best one to start with, because if it works, then it's probably going to work for others.
I guess what's next for PunksClub? Like, what does good look like for the next sort of 3 to 5 years?
So the next thing is getting a mobile app out there with chat functionality, because then people can actually do everything related to this community directly on their phone. They could have chats, location-based chats, right? If I'm going to Miami, I want to message everybody there, all the punks in there, and ask them if they want to meet up, right? If I have a project going on, I want to collect all the punks that can help me in some chat room related to the project, and have a discussion with them there and ask for help. If I'm organizing an event, I want to chat around that event, right? People do all those things manually right now. We want to create a chat system that caters to all these needs, and is very custom built to to make sure that everybody can very easily collaborate and meet fellow punks, because like the biggest value are the actual people on the platform and in the community. And this became very apparent to us after meeting several punks in many places, but also hosting several people that actually visited Poland. And it's like everybody was open to help. Everybody was happy to meet. Everybody's working on something, right? Or have some interesting art project or history or experience. So this is huge value, and our goal is to give everybody maximum value out of their punk, right? This is like the mission that we came up with.
I remember, trying to meet up with punks in New York for NFT NYC. It was a bit of a scramble. I was just lucky enough to be following Sagito at the time. And basically he sort of said, look, anybody that's going to be in New York, we're going to have a punks brunch, DM me. And then you got an invite to a Telegram group chat. And in that Telegram group chat's basically where we organize ourselves for punks brunch, which was a really great event, right? And I think it was pretty cool getting into this, secret hidden sort of chat, but it wasn't sort of ideal, especially if you were a punk. I'm not sure how many punks missed out because they just didn't get the eyeballs that they sort of needed. And I think PunksClub can definitely sort of centralize a lot of that, and definitely help with some of the coordination efforts to meet up with some of the other punks. And me personally, man, like I've connected with a few punks in Hong Kong through that app. So it's been helpful there. I didn't even know that they were here. I mean, I chatted to a few of them on Twitter for some time, but never knew that they were in Hong Kong, which is kind of cool. And obviously launching PunkCast, it gave me a bit of a platform to share that with everybody as well, right? So much needed, and definitely a lot of utility for punks. So thank you for setting that up. So talk to me about Punksden. I've always been curious about Punksden. Like, you guys have already started already. That's already kicked off. I know you've appointed some board members or some punks as judges at the moment.
Yeah, so we're getting set up. We're not rushing it. The idea behind it is to leverage the power of this community to push the broader Web3 ecosystem forward. So when we noticed, how talented and entrepreneurial many punks are, we started thinking of ideas how to leverage that and show it to the outside world. First of all, because we don't have much information about the punks community online, and especially not on the official sites. You don't really see the value of punk holders other than some prominent people on Twitter with punk PFPs. So we thought how to leverage this like immense value to push the broader Web3 forward, because that's also in our interest and it's something we want to do. So that's when we thought of this Shark Tank format, where we would have CryptoPunk holders being the judges and Web3 startups submitting their proposals, descriptions of what they're building to the judges. And then we want to do Twitter Spaces in this Shark Tank format where punks will be deciding which startups win, and they will get some kind of like a badge of approval from punk holders, and of course visibility on the crypto market as a result, and the eyes of many funds and DAOs, because punks are involved in many of those, and winning punks then would be a big deal and give you tons of visibility
and attention. That's cool. And so basically that's open to any Web3 entrepreneurs. So it's not just for punks, right? Anybody that's got an idea can pitch to Punksden.
Yeah, it's completely open You don't have to be a punk holder. It's completely free, and it's open for any stage of a business. It can be an idea, it can be an MVP, it can be a business that's already running. So it's open for everyone.
Just moving back to, I guess, the conversation, what brought us all here, back to CryptoPunks. When did you buy your first CryptoPunk, and how did you sort of come into it?
So it was actually not long before we started PunksClub. Uh, I saw that the prices aren't extremely crazy, and I wanted to join and see this community from the inside, and that's why I got one just several months ago, and that's how PunksClub was born, basically. Due
Nice.
to that fact, because that's when I noticed this missing part, and I kind of felt like the 90s again when I was starting to work on my social network back in the day, and it felt like this is another. It's like a reset of the tech world, because again we have banks popping up on Ethereum, right? We have different types of products that were already established in Web 2, popping up on Web 3. And that's pretty much what PunksClub is doing,
Awesome.
leveraging this reset of tech for and implementing a social network.
And how did you go about selecting your specific punk? Did you have much thought going in for the attributes that you selected? The messy hair, the green eyes, and handlebar mustache.
So actually, this was like a pretty spontaneous decision, uh, and it's possible that I'm going to be changing that punk eventually.
Okay.
But right now, I'm just focused on building and not not touching it until PunksClub is like a known brand on the market, and I get some time to switch up a punk or maybe get back to writing that video game I planned.
Nice. Just are you able to share which type of traits you're looking at? I promise I won't front run you.
If I were looking today, let me just look at the ones for sale. I think it's just gonna be like a nice, simple, simple. Maybe we'll be looking for some resemblance to myself. No, I think no glasses, like simple hair or short hair. No mustache, probably.
Just so everybody's listening, Voy is wearing a hoodie and he's wearing 3D glasses at the moment. So if you see that might be his.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Hoodie would be perfect, but those are pretty expensive.
definitely. And mate, so who's your favorite punk personality in the space?
I think it would be 6529, just because of him being very focused on making sure that the metaverse stays open, focused on education, focused on advancing the space in general, and I think that's my goal pretty much too. So that's why I align with his thoughts.
As a technologist, I mean, what's your view on, I guess, the metaverse and this concept of the open metaverse? Like, how are you sort of seeing this play out?
So I think this strongly ties to ownership of assets. And that's what makes the metaverse possible, at least the open one, right? When you have NFTs for art, soon you're gonna have NFTs for tickets, or already have in many cases. You're gonna have NFTs for clothes. You're gonna have like digital representation of various real life assets, and due to this ownership nature of NFTs, you can represent them in any app, and metaverse apps being one of those apps. So I guess it's like a ability to replicate the things you own in a virtual world, and also own things from the virtual world, and maybe make them come to life in real life. So it's kind of like the ultimate connection of the real world and the virtual world that's being built in front of our eyes pretty much. And I have I'm not into VR that much, just because I don't really like the experience, and I don't feel too well after 3 minutes in the VR glasses. But I'm really interested in where AR gets us in context of this whole metaverse aspect, because AR can actually mix reality with all the virtual assets. And I think that's going to be huge if you're passing in front of a store and and you're a CryptoPunk holder and you get an offer for a CryptoPunk themed T-shirt because they have it on sale right now, right? So that's actually something that's gonna give a bunch of value. And I like mixing the real world with the virtual world. Not a fan of like jumping into the virtual world and closing yourself off for hours or days. Uh, that's why I'm big on AR, and yeah, metaverse is definitely going to be expanding in the future.
Yeah. I'm probably in the same boat. I get a lot of motion sickness from the VR headset, so I think I'm probably more of an AR person too. Cool. And then, if you were to describe punk culture in a few words, based on your journey so far and what you've seen and the interactions that you've had with existing punks, how would you describe punk culture?
I'd call punks builders, because even the people who aren't working on some specific project are eager to help, and most of punks are working on something, building something, running some company. So builders is one word that comes to mind. The other is trust. For some reason, there is like this elevated trust level between punk holders. At least I've both shown it and experienced it from people. Looks like you could like reach out to any punk worldwide for help and get some kind of positive response.
Absolutely.
And support is like the third word that comes to mind, and I think this is also something that other punks are open to helping punk holders, and I try to live by this code, let's say.
No, I can see that too. Just listening to some of the spaces and the engagement that you've been having on the Telegram, and the responses you've been getting. So no, it's good. It's great to see. And if you could pass on a message to the owner of your next punk, what would you say to them?
Keep building. Web3 to the moon.
Web3 to the moon. Amazing. Hey, so Voy, that wraps up our punkcast for today. That was pretty fun. So, and thank you so much for spending the time out to join us today. But I guess from your side, any closing comments and and just ways to sort of find you and PunksClub?
Yeah, you can always reach out on Twitter if you want to message me. My DMs are open. Thank you for having me. Thanks for listening, everyone. Whoever is a punk, come join PunksClub. If you have an ape, come join Ape Club. We're actually launching for mutants very soon, so there's going to be like a broader community there. But yeah, just keep building and keep supporting this open approach to metaverse and this ownership of assets. That's like something that gets us free from all the banks and financial institutions that haven't really been supportive of anybody. And now we can actually own both our money and our assets. So this is a great thing, and just a shout out to everybody who helps drive this mission forward.
Amazing. Voy, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll definitely love to reconnect at some stage soon. And guys that's listening, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of PunkCast. And that's a wrap for this week. And we'll do it again next week. Bye now.